up, find a partner. All right. So look at your partner, and guess what? You and your partner are going into business together. All right? You just got $1 million loan from a local bank, and that loan is to be able to have you start a restaurant. Okay? So you got to think about what the customers want, what the customers' needs are for this restaurant. Now here's the deal. Every time you have an idea, you have to start with yes, but. So you have to go back and forth and give your idea, and then the other partner is going to go yes, but, and they're going to give their idea. We're going to go back and forth for 15 seconds. All right? Any questions? You ready?
Yes, but.
Yeah! You ready? Go!
I'm talking to myself.
It's not here. Just join great and good luck there. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the same exercise, but instead of saying yes, but, we're going to use the words yes, and see where we go, okay? So yes, and, go back and forth. Ready? Go. How far did we get there?
We're having a great time.
You had a great time? Tell us about your great time.
Well, we're starting a restaurant that's got a nice fresh garden and so on in back. It's got indoor and outdoor seating, and the really unique thing about ours is it's going to be dog friendly, but we're really going to create a dining experience for the dogs.
Whoa!
We're going to make organic foods for them that are only going to be available through us, and a special set of doggy bags for both the human and the dog so that they can take these wonderful things back home. On the go!
Oh, look at that. Give a little appreciation. So what we just did there in that exercise, we became agile. Let's look at the first way that we did things. The first way was the yes, but. How far did we go? We didn't go far. Okay, how anybody here was getting kind of annoyed with that not being able to go? Now think about our jobs and our cultures and how many times that happens where we get yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. And then what does that do to the meeting? What does that do to the energy? It crushes it down. Okay? Now when we look at this other concept of the yes and, was there any limits? No. Who were we thinking about? What the customer's needs are, what the customer's wants are. So that's what we're going to start doing. We're going to do a deeper dive and understand the data of how do humans play in the role of agility and also with an artificial intelligence that's entering within the workforce today. So you can all please be seated. Why did agility happen? What is agility? organizations needed the ability to be able to move faster, make quicker decisions, to be able to go against the market needs. Because within our time period, within the past 15 years, we've seen so many different disruptions within the marketplace. And the ability of how much information us humans are able to get in one day. Some studies show that we get more information in one day than what we used to get in 1 year. So that has changed the needs of what we're looking for our customers. And not only did it because it changed their needs, it's because now organizations, we have to be able to work faster to be able to maintain high competitiveness. So that's why agility started. So looking at the increasing customers' demands, the inclusion of big data, and what we're able to do with big data, then we have market disruptors, social media, Facebook, innovation changes, investor expectations, and competitive advantage, and the concept of artificial intelligence starting to enter the workplace. Now, how many of us work in an organization that's currently doing Agile? All right? So we have some folks that are doing Agile. Now, please raise your hand too if any of these market disruptions has impacted any of our businesses. Please raise your hand. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about in our table, we're going to take 1 minute. What are some of the changes that's happening because of these disruptions, the competition of talents, the market disruptors, all those different things? What are some of the changes that you're seeing within your environment, in your organization? So we're going to take 1 minute in your table, talk about the changes. Ready? Go. All right, 10 seconds, 10 seconds. All right, so what did we talk about within our tables? What are some of the changes that we've seen?
Increasing regulation, decreasing staff to implement.
Yeah, so we have to be able to report on more, but we have less people to make sure that that's happening. Thank you so much. What else? What else? What else we got?
Talent competition.
Yep. So what do you see within the talent competition?
You have very large organizations going after our universities and pulling people out of the market.
Yeah, so we're seeing a ton of these larger organizations that offer these great benefits and all these different things, and it's becoming tough for a small business to compete. Thank you. What else?
With our table was, we have talent gaps. We have people that are not interested in staying in the company for a long time.
Mhm.
We have generational gaps, and we have clients that are demanding and needing things at a pace that we're not normally to serve.
Yeah, just as we have to adapt to speed, our clients are also becoming that much faster. Now, here's what we're going to do on that. Everybody have one of these awesome devices.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our phone, and in our table, we're going to look at all the apps that we have on our phone and look at one that's completely changed your experience as a consumer. Okay? That's changed your, and it could be a consumer for getting groceries, from getting music, whatever it is. Okay? Look at what, as a consumer, what has changed by utilizing that.
So many things.
Oh no! Hi, Mom. That's hilarious. Oh my God.
Oh, with the little smiley face emoji. Smiley face emoji.
B blanks and W whites.
My grandson tries to teach me how to play games on his iPad, and I
All right.
don't get it to play. Yeah, look at it. It just takes it away.
So what are the things that we came up with? What's changed in our consumer experience from these phones? What are some of the apps? Alexa. What about Alexa?
I like my shopping list there.
So you have your shopping list there within Alexa, and Alexa knows exactly what you want to buy. Fantastic. What else? Thank you.
Amazon.
Amazon. What about Amazon?
Whoa. You don't have to, I can buy whatever I want, just sitting right here.
Yeah, what did Amazon start as? It started as a simple bookstore. But what you could get everything from A to Z. That's what the logo stands for. Thank you. What else?
Oh, I can go find my friends.
What's that?
Find my friends.
Find my what's find my
Stalk my daughter before I'm going to college.
Oh, so now
And then before I call her, I make sure she's not in class.
so these devices that also changed so it's changed the way we were parenting our children. And how we're watching over our children, how we're becoming more big brother, big brother, big brother on our children. But guess who else is becoming big brother on these devices? Amazon, these organizations. I mean, how many of us watched that, saw that piece where Alexa was listening into our conversations? Why is Alexa listening to our conversations?
So it's going to anticipate our next move.
It can anticipate our next move. What are they going to do with that next move?
Sell you.
They're going to sell you, and what else? Market you, and develop products to go to what you're looking for to be able to fit your needs, which is why agility is so important. The traditional method, organizations, software, product development, they were only able to get about 2 products launched a year. It's from what some of our studies show. Agility, places like Google, they're able to get 10 launches a month. So, looking at the world of artificial intelligence, any of our businesses started to get impacted by artificial intelligence. We just talked about, yes.
No, it's
Yeah. We just talked about how we're being impacted by artificial intelligence. Now, 42% of companies surveyed by PwC said their company is already utilizing artificial intelligence. Then 35% of companies say they have plans within the next couple of years to start embedding artificial intelligence into what they're doing. So this technology is coming. Now, Dale Carnegie, I'm going to say February 6th, they are a lot smarter around the technology of what's coming. This is what they do every day. What we do is how do people adapt within the environment of artificial intelligence. Now, the potential impact in the same PwC research study said, how is artificial intelligence going to impact our economies within the next 10 years? So by 2030, it's going to impact by $15.7 trillion based upon replacement of jobs in the workforce and new product and offerings is going to be given to the marketplace. The top 2 countries that's going to be impacted is first, China. China's economy is going to be impacted by $7 trillion. The second economy that's going to be impacted is the United States by $3.7 trillion. Now China is double of the impact of how this is all going to play out. Now, artificial intelligence, it's really, if you want a really good read on everything around AI and the human ability around AI, pick up a book called Humans Are Underrated. Humans Are Underrated. And what they talk about within Humans Are Underrated is the wave of technology. When was the last time that something like this that's been so disruptive happened? And it is the Industrial Revolution. During the Industrial Revolution, we came from the Agricultural Revolution to the Industrial Revolution where heavy machinery was introduced into the workplace. Does anybody know the region of the world that did not want to adapt to heavy machinery because they were afraid that was going to displace jobs? Anybody know?
China?
Nope, but thank you. Europe. And at that time, Europe was the superpower. But the Queen and the Parliament said, we don't want to use this because what it's going to do is going to displace too many jobs. Does anybody know the economy that really embraced the heavy machinery? The United States. And that's what started creating us to become the superpower. That's when we started seeing everything started happening. Now, what was created in that point, that position, because we started adapting? New positions. Job called manager. Job called leader within an organization. And so what they saw is they had to be able to start developing new skills and doing new things. And so that's actually when Dale Carnegie started. We started during that time, and it was the perfect time for us to start because managers had to get up and speak and motivate their teams. And so we started as a public speaking organization. Now still today, number 1 fear of the American adult is? Public speaking is what I'm doing right now. Number 6, in a 5-6 time period, do we know what that is, the fear? Death. So if logic was to rule, we'd rather be in the casket than speak in the eulogy. So, we did a survey ourselves to understand more about artificial intelligence and where people see it going and how many folks are being adaptive towards it. And so, within the globe, AI will fundamentally change the way I work within 10 years. So throughout the globe, 44% of the people we research globally said that it will. Within the United States, 53% said AI is going to be a differential maker for tomorrow. According to experts, being able to utilize, and this is why agility continues to fit in, is the ability to make decisions, good decisions, but how fast do we have to make decisions in today's environment? In the lightning speed of time, because that's what the market is demanding and demanding and demanding because we're changing. Technical expertise, organizational agility. And so what we see are how to start creating an agile environment is what we call the building blocks. The first thing we start with is organizational purpose. Organizational purpose. So the organizational purpose has to deal with why are we waking up every day to go to this job and it doesn't have more meaning. And is what we're doing client-centric. The next piece of it is resilience. Individual and organizational resilience. So how are we able to adapt to those environments? Then, social intelligence, which is the lifeline of creating trust within the organization. Then, tools and processes to be able to help us utilize these different technologies to how we're collaborating together and with our customers. Which then goes into the ability to execute and act. So, the first thing is we're going to go over is the organizational purpose. Here's one organizational purpose that's completely defined and is completely customer-centric. To inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, one neighborhood, every time. So every time you go to Starbucks, that's what they're thinking of. When they're putting new products, when they're selecting new locations, this is it. When they're putting new technologies, when they're advancing their app, it has to go to that. Because once you have that, what it does is it allows us to be able to create a clear navigation of how we're making our decisions and the impact that we want to be able to have. Empowers employees. One of the top things is, how many of us are Wegmans shoppers? Okay. So I was talking to the head of human resources. He says the ability of what Wegmans has always done is one of their top values is empowerment. And their employees are empowered to make decisions at any time that's going to impact the customer experience towards a positive way. Now we're also seeing that within Wegmans too, is how many of us have downloaded the app Wegmans to Go? Right? How many of us have utilized Instacart? If you haven't, it's pretty neat. I mean, I'm telling you right now, I have, anybody ever hear of the website Delish? It's a bunch of recipes. So literally you can find your recipe, you can click on it, and guess what? It loads your Instacart, then you're able to check out on your Instacart and then either have the groceries delivered to you or you go right up to it. So again, Wegmans, that's not getting people into the stores, but what it's doing is it's still enhancing the consumer experience. So that empowerment is not just made on decisions of produce and within the stores, but that's throughout the whole organization. But it's all navigated towards what their main purpose is. Facilitates collaborations and through conflict and able to work through conflict. Is conflict a good or bad thing within a work environment? It is a positive thing, but if you don't have conflict and you're missing trust, that's what creates politics. And providing a framework and making trade-offs. So these are the different areas that we're looking at for when we're talking about purpose. The next piece is tools and processes. An agile organization is always looking at different tools to be able to get more and more insights from their consumers, to be able to launch products. So this is one. Anybody ever see this company, this organization before? Legos? So what they've done is to be able to get their consumers to collaborate with them, to look at their product developments. They actually created on their website ideas for products and ideas of different things that you could be able to make with Legos. So they get those different ideas, and what they do with it is they sift through it with AI to see which one is going to be able to sell the most, which then has them working on as an agile team to be able to launch these products. And that's a huge way of how we're collaborating with it, really collaborating within our clients. Another organization is how many of us have a Netflix account? Okay? How do you think Netflix is figuring out those amazing series that gets us binge watching? It's through consumer insights. It's based upon what people are watching to be able to make those decisions to what are they going to film next and who is going to be the characters within that film. Then, on top of that, who are they going to market it to based upon our past decision making. Now in 2018, Netflix became the most valuable media company. It surpassed Disney World, the Walt Disney Company, in value. So, the next piece of it is social intelligence. Social intelligence refers to the ability to deal with challenges and to have good collaboration, good communication, and ways to be able to work through problems. Now, how many times are we focusing on that as we're looking at how we're developing our people? Is that piece. We all know it's something that needs to be done, but a lot of times throughout the previous generations, this wasn't as important to what it is now because the market needs are showing this more and more. Now, an organization that really has gone after this is Google. So Google did a project called Google Oxygen. Has anybody ever seen this one before? And so what they looked at was what are the top behaviors and character traits of a high-performing leader, the leader that that's working in an agile environment, and they're able to launch way more product than any other leader. And so that they did is they studied them, say what are they doing different, and it wasn't their technical competence. It was these 10 areas: be a good coach, empower a team, no micromanagement happening, creates inclusive environment, shows concerns, success, well-being, is productive and results-oriented, is a good communicator, listens, shares information, supports career development, has a clear vision strategy, and has the technical skills to help advise the team, collaborates across Google, and is a strong decision maker. So how many of us would love to go to work every single day saying, I work with that person? Okay? How many of us has ever worked for somebody that they really, really trust? Have we? So what was it like going into work every single day with that person you trust? Did you feel like you could make a decision? Did you feel like, you weren't going to be hurt at all by saying something that maybe not everybody agrees with? Were you able to get the projects done faster? All right? Have we ever worked for somebody we didn't trust? All right? What was that like going to work every day? What's that? What was it like?
It sucked. Terrible.
It was difficult, it was terrible. What else? Could we make decisions? Did we feel like they even cared about our career advancement? What do they care about? Themselves, all the time. Okay? So think about this. Imagine if you're in an agile project and that's what's happening every single day, is we're working with that leader that we don't trust. Or imagine the person that we do trust calls us up as we're working for that person we don't trust and says, hey, I would love for you to jump ship, but you're going to get paid $10,000 less. Would you do it? Why? Why would you do it?
It's a better future ahead of you if you do the right thing.
That's right. It's a better future. You get to go home and feel not all tense and anxious. And so that's what really this study was all about. And then the output of that study was being able to look at psychological safety. Psychological safety is about how do I feel if I'm going to be able to share ideas? Am I going to get harmed by sharing my ideas? If I make the wrong decision, am I going to get completely beat for making this wrong decision? And so what that does is it shows what we have to do is we have to create that psychological safety within the organization, within each group, so that people are open and they're able to make those quick decisions. And if we don't have it, then it's just like going to work every single day for that person we do not trust. Now here's what we've got. We've got a scenario. Can everybody see the scenario? Past few months. So it's John. John's a director within an organization. Over the past few months, he's been a lead for a cross-functional team, which is responsible for a big project expected to result in an important innovation for the company. People always said John is intelligent and has high standards, and he feels that that's exactly what helps him be successful. The team has noticed that he is quick to point out people's mistakes and is impatient with team members who has ideas that he doesn't consider as good. In a recent meeting, he shot down several ideas. Later, made the comments to some teammates afterwards, saying about how he's disappointed in people who offered ideas at the meeting, saying that they didn't reflect the kind of excellence his team are known for. People are now hesitant to offer their input if they think that John is not 100% in agreement. So, in your groups, talk about what are the behaviors that John's done to stop psychological safety. If you were going to give John some advice to change, what would that advice be? What should he be doing different? And then we all have a golden book on our thing. Open up to the first page around the first 9 human relations principles. What's one of those principles that you would tell John that he needs to start focusing on to create psychological safety? We're going to take 2 minutes. What are the behaviors? What's your advice? And what's the principle that he should follow? All right? Ready? Go.
So where do you think John's up? Yeah, exactly. About number 4 become generally interested in other people. So that you have be a good listener. Listen to what people have to say. And they work at lots
All right. So can I get one volunteer from every group, please? One volunteer from every group. One person raise your hand, please. Okay. One person. All right. So, do you know what you're volunteering for? No. You do not know what you're volunteering for. You know what we typically call that outside of Dale Carnegie? Crazy. But I'm very happy we've created a psychological safe environment for you to volunteer. So what you're going to do is you're going to select one person in your group that's going to give us feedback of what needs to be done differently for this leader. So select a person that's going to report for you. All right? You ready? Go.
Come on, darling.
All right. All right, think about one of the questions, one of the 3 questions, and just give us one quick answer for those folks that are going to give us some answers of one of the questions. All right? So we'll start over here. What is one of the answers for the questions?
Would be number 1.
Don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
Yes.
Who do we do that the most to? Ourselves. So that principle is just as much about ourselves than other people. All right? Thank you so much. Over here.
We talked about the fact that criticizing somebody in public lights up the same areas of the brain as slapping them across the face, so you might as well have slapped them right across the face.
Right across. Yep.
So obviously you can't criticize. I mean, you need to do that in private.
Yep.
Praise them in public. Otherwise, you're stymieing all future ideas.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's the only one of that book that shows you what not to do, and the rest of those principles is what you can do that's not that. All right? Thank you so much. Over here.
We went with number 9.
Okay.
The other people feel important, do it sincerely.
Absolutely, absolutely.
To embrace and encompass a safe atmosphere and rewarding one.
Yeah, and it builds confidence. Thank you so much. Over here.
I'm going to say number 7, be a good listener, encourage others to talk about themselves and not make it always.
Absolutely. How much of leadership is about listening? Okay? That's what it's all about. If we're not listening, and we got to listen to whom? Our people and our customers. So if we're not putting that listening, guess what? We're going to miss the boat on that psychological safe environment. Thank you so much. All right, that table over there, Teresa's table.
We talked about number 7 also, being a good listener, and the concept if you're going to open up to ideas, then you can listen to the ideas, you can't just immediately shoot them.
Yeah. How many times does the opposite happen? Where the leader has all the ideas and they're going first, okay? And guess what? Is that forcing people to think? And that's what our job is to be able to create that environment where people think, do things. And that's what, if you look at that research around Google Oxygen, that's what the leaders do. Thank you so much. Next.
Number 2, honest, sincere appreciation.
Please raise your hand if you get too much appreciation. All right? I've been asking that question for 15 years now, and no one still raised their hand. Okay? So if we're not getting it, guess how much we're giving? Not as much. Okay? So being able, and what are the first ones? Honest and sincere. And who's the biggest person that we're not appreciating? That's ourselves. Right? And that's what we're going to go into the next block after this around resilience and what we have to do to be able to create resilience in this environment. Thank you.
So we talked about arousing the other person's eager want.
Yeah.
And how it would help foster a collaborative culture and environment in the workplace.
Notice who's that principle really about. It's that other person. So being able to focus on that other person. Thank you. Did you go? I don't think you went, did you?
It's me.
Yes. She's like, oh man, I was hoping you was going to skip us.
I kind of jumped over to page 4 with number 13, begin in a friendly way. I think it's also important to remain being friendly.
Yeah.
That sort of encompasses everything on page 3. It's important
Absolutely. And so what you're doing is you're looking at our gain cooperation principles. So the first part, the first set, those principles are all about how do we build trust. If we don't have trust with somebody, is it going to be easy to get people to cooperate with us? So that's what we do strategically, is to look at those first 9s, to go into the second set, to go into the last set, which is leading people. So, all right, thank you so much. Back there, way back there.
Yes, we went with, don't criticize condemned work today, and also we're just going to leave and go work for Olga.
Work for where? For Olga? Yes.
Work for Olga.
There you go, there you go. One of our proud Dale Carnegie graduates back there. Awesome, thank you so much. And this table over here.
We went with SMILE. You should have fun where you work, and you're going to work faster, better, smarter if you're having a good time.
You know what? If you're having fun, guess who else is having fun?
Your team.
Yeah, your team. And you know, a lot of people say that number one fear of the American adults is public speaking. If you do one thing when you're in front of the room, and that's called having fun, guess what? Everybody else is going to have fun. But typically, what are we thinking about when we're up here? We're thinking about how we're going to mess up. We're too busy thinking of ourselves, and who should we always be thinking about? The audience. Same thing happens within work. Is how do we think about our audience? Now, another fear that's climbing up there is the fear of conflict. So when we're thinking about this agile environment, of how are we going to be agile if we can't have conflict? How are we going to be able to truly help our customers if we can't communicate around conflict? So, the next piece is the resilience. What resilience is the ability to bounce back, to maintain a positive attitude. Okay? Easy or hard in a bad day. Okay? It's great for us to have that positive attitude when everything's right. It's easy for us to do that, but project going down the tubes, things not happening, those tests didn't work out well, guess what? How easy is it for us to get into that doom and gloom and that negative? So, what they're saying is always thinking about the outcomes and how the outcomes are positively going to be impacted. Think more creatively, innovate, because when we're falling down, guess what's happened? How creative are we? We're not trusting ourselves. We don't have that confidence within ourselves, so it's so hard for us to be able to think creatively. Are often better problem solvers. So when we do have that positive thinking and we're looking and we're focusing on solutions and not just a problem, that's when our decisions become better. They build an inherent resources easier. So, developing a positive attitude. If we can, then open that golden book to the second half. The second part of the golden. So the first one's about people, the second one's about stress and worry, and it's about self. What page is that? 6. Page 6. Go through those principles, and in your group, talk about which one of those principles would be a great principle for us to be able to develop more resilience. Page 6. It's a bad day, project going down the tubes. Which one of those principles do we use?
What's the worst that could happen?
What's the worst that can happen? Figure it out and move forward. Learn from the experience. That's my interpretation. Totally get it. Your position or your team. But life has really negative consequences.
30 seconds.
What can I do?
Time. So what are some of the principles? We're not going to go around the whole room, but we're going to take our top 3. What are some of the things we talked about that we could be able to do for that resilience?
Could you repeat that?
You can take it one day at a time by making up compartments instead of looking at your whole week and being stressed out about what's upcoming.
Yeah, right? One person I talked to, they said to me, literally, they said, I've never had a bad day in my life. And I'm like, well, okay, I have. What's your secret? He's like, no, I've had bad hours, not bad days. And so sometimes what we got to be able to even get to is even that time and to be able to have that. Yes, thank you. Who else? Yes, Tyler.
So we talked about employees, our staff coming to us and empowering them through asking questions. So being more resilient when they come to us with a problem, validation, hearing what they have to say first.
Yeah.
And giving them that confidence to bounce back.
And there's some good solutions in there to be able for that is to be able to challenge your people to how to think through their own problems. Because what ends up happening when you're the leader and you're always solving everybody's problem? Guess how much work you actually get done? You get no work done. What's happening all the time? You've got people going in your office and you're there, you're solving their problems, you're not teaching them how to think. So so knock it on the door. Yeah, one more. There's a lot of talking going on in here. Yes.
We talked about incremental changes for larger goals.
Okay.
So if you want to accomplish a significant thing, you have to break it down into incremental parts and hold yourself accountable to executing those small things.
That's right.
Every hour, every day.
Those small things are what makes it. And so what do we do when we get those small things done?
Catch yourself on the back.
Yeah, celebration. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, the other reason why public speaking is the #1 fear of the American adults is because when you ask a question and you wait 10 seconds and no one's answering, you're like, oh my gosh. Or sometimes you get the lizard look. Has anybody ever seen the lizard look before when you're up in front of here? When you ask a question and no one knows what that could ask, it's like, or like when you give a direction for the group, you ever see the O lips? So, looking at how we're adjusting in these attitudes, because new technology is happening, it's going to keep on evolving, and within AI, 76% of people is being able to that was surveyed through Dale Carnegie and Associates when they have a clear understanding around how AI is going to be used in their work environment, they're going to be willing to adapt. Okay? Why do you think people don't want to adapt to new technology?
Change.
Fear, change? Okay, what are they scared of?
They're going to lose their job.
They're going to lose their job. If they don't have trust within the organization, It doesn't matter what technology you shove down people's throat, because guess what? They're going to be the determining factor of adoption. Okay? 70% of people said if they trust their leadership in their organization and they have that trust, that they will adopt. But how many times are we seeing that that's where organizations are focusing, is developing and developing and developing that trust? We get so caught up in our days and what's going in front of us that this is something that begins to be forgotten sometimes. 72% of people say, if I have the skills to adapt to the change, it will be easy for us to make that change. We will make that leap. Transparency, how much does it matter? 65% of people that are surveyed say if their organization is completely transparent, they show transparency, that they will adopt and it will be a lot better. 39% actually feel that their organization is fully transparent. How much do you trust your leader, your current leaders, in the right decision about implementing AI? Directors, and this is the higher above, 73% of them said, you know what, I'm really believing in this. This is great. Then when you go down to the manager, 52% of the managers say, this is fantastic. Then when you get to the person who's touching the customer, 23%. 23%. What does that do to our client experience? What does that do to our innovation? Because the folks that are there, that piece of it, those are the folks that are going to help us get more and more customer intelligence. Yet they're the ones that trust this the least amount because they're afraid that they're going to just be displaced. They're afraid that somehow the heavy machinery is going to, all this stuff is going to take. So what it's about how do we become more transparent about what we're going to do with technology. Now, why do you think this technology, especially around robotics, is in existence? It's in existence because the lack of labor in the workforce. One of the first careers that's being truly disrupted right now is the truck driver. Self-driven trucks. Why? How many of us have ever seen people help wanted with CDL license? Can't find them. So, that's the reason why, because the market is demanding. Now, within confidence in transition, how concerned are you about your job being eliminated from artificial intelligence? On our 2019 survey, 43% said they are slightly, or they're worried. They're at least moderately worried. Within the United States, that jumped to 51%. By 2030, 375 million jobs are going to be changed. And again, this is more and more of why adopting Agile is so important, because Agile is all about the continuous learning, the engagement, so that people become successful and they can navigate through this. Traditional jobs become a project-based work. Operational, everything is driven based upon insights. Mono-skilled, so it's not about what one thing that you're good at and just keep on doing that. People in the workforce are going to have to be skilled in many different things. Now, because of all this disruption between technology and now with agility, if we were going to look at some of the most critical skills that we're going to have to be able to start developing more and more and more within our workforce, how much of it do you believe is hard skills? STEM-based skills. What would you guess? Percentage. You just shoot it out.
5%.
30, 20, 5%, 27% of jobs are going to be determined based upon STEM skills. 73% is going to be based upon soft skills. Communication skills, critical thinking, creativity, and being able to work in a team environment. Typically, where are we educating kids for today? The other ones. And so then, since that's what's coming up and that's what's the product that's happening, guess what happens to organizations? Organizations now have to and are investing into those soft skills. Now here is what we've done in our survey of what, through vice presidents, our global survey, of what of the soft skills do they see are the most important. So communications, creativity, critical thinking, leadership, teamwork, emotional intelligence, and empathy. 69%. So what we have down is received training in the past years is the dark one, and the light one is according to these vice presidents of their organizations need to get better at. Communication, 69%, only 40% of people surveyed said that they've been able to develop those, have some kind of training in that. Creativity, 30%, 64%, but the vice presidents see that that is extremely critical, but the past 3 years, this is where they've been able to get developed. Critical thinking, 27 to 55%. Leadership, 37 to 54%. Teamwork, 41% to 49%. Emotional intelligence, 19, 43%. And empathy, 27%. Now, some other research will also indicate that empathy is actually one of the top ones, because empathy becomes a driver for all of it. Because empathy is the ability to put yourself in the other person's shoes, to see things from the other person's point of view. Not saying they're right, not saying they're wrong, but understanding where they're coming from. So what we saw is that people, if we are able to develop these skills and create advocates of change within the workplace, they're 3 times more likely of being able to adapt to these changes. The respondents who trust leaders and understand and show that these soft skills and they're getting developed, that's what's going to happen. To be able to turn around the organization, to be able to adapt to what the new environment is. So, in your tables, talk about what are the barriers in your organization around transparency, other technologies to be addressed. Is trust and leadership strong? And what are some of the barriers that can stop us? And what are the core skills needed to prepare all people for this transition? So what we'll do is we'll take 2 minutes in our tables, chat about these questions. Ready? Go.
We are dialoguing not launching outside sales force that know have different skills. So they're going to be looking at very specific human intervention, demos, things like that. So you're not going to be able to get out of anybody can buy a case. Our people are going to be using right now, we go from selfies. Technology is definitely changing the way we do it. Sure. Yeah. So they have branches. Yeah, we had I'm originally from the southern tier and I recognize it from Lyra. Yeah, that is important. Yeah, I worked on my
All right.
in the Buffalo area.
So what are the things we talked about? So what happened? Take two folks, two groups. Yes?
I'd say big topic of our conversation was our companies are having new technology that are, trying to compete with competitors, trying to give people the Amazon, Netflix experience, and are incorporating artificial intelligence into those websites.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And let's think about this too. The Amazons and Googles of tomorrow are being developed today. So there's more and more competitors. And you want to have something fun? Look at the Fortune 500 company list in the 80s. And see how many are still there. And see who's new there. So that's literally where we have to look at within organizations. How are we decapitating ourselves to be able to compete in tomorrow's market? Thank you so much. All right, one more.
We got lots of projects at our company, but when you get to the project part of it, what's missing is the resource plan behind it.
Yeah.
So, what we end up doing is delivering about 80% of every project, and before we're done with that one, we move on to the next one and the next one, and you have a workforce that's like becoming discontent just because we actually never get a correct resource plan to push it 100% home. And feel good about it.
Absolutely, and that's where you're going to start seeing differentiator within Agile, because Agile, that's the traditional waterfall method. And so what we're going to look at is that how can communications and all those things be able to impact that. The other thing is too, is I was just talking to a client yesterday, large organization within Rochester, about Agile, and they said the toughest thing is that we always have strived for perfection and to be perfect. And in the Agile, it's not about being perfect. It's about getting out there, putting it out there, and then navigating from that afterwards and being able to say, okay, adapt, adjust. So, within the building blocks, what we've seen is when you have these three components, then we have to have the capacity to act. Now, ACT is all about execution. So, do things to respond quickly based upon customer demands and organizational demands. So what we did was, in our research, in our survey, do we have the capacity to respond to new information? Okay, so the Americas, 30% feel that they could be able to act based upon information and make decisions. Europe, 22%. Now, Asia Pacific, as 36%, people are saying, yes, we have the ability, we're going to be able to make those decisions, and we can act on those decisions. Which then, this is all about how can we get this out there, get our products and our offerings out there faster. So what we see are the factors, is encouraging collaboration. 42% strongly agree and are open to sharing new information. It's how important it is, which goes back to Aristotle. Top 5 key team effectiveness areas, and this is based upon Google, is A, psychological safety. Again, if I make a mistake on our team, is it going to be held against me? B, dependability. When a teammate says that they're going to do something, that it's actually done, and we can rely on that person. 3, structural clarity. Our team is effective in decision-making and decision-making process, and we have that established. 4, meaning. The work I do for our team is meaningful to me. And 5, impact. I understand how our team's work contribute to the organizational goals. So they're able to see it move and move and move the needle for that organization. And this is based upon Google's Aristotle study. So mastering change and change management. Embracing customers and employees as value change agents. Communicate the change. So having that transparency for us to be able to communicate where we're going, what are we utilizing with this technology for, to be able to create that safe environment for folks. Work with people's individual reactions to change. Remember, we're all the same and we're all so different. So being able to take that time to communicate and building those relationships. Leveraging advocates and praise early adapters. So being able to look at who are those earlier trendsetters and how do we make them the winners and make it happen so that we can get more and more people following us within the organization. And capacity to act, effectively to collaborate. And so basically what we're saying within Dale Carnegie is within these principles, these are the ways and the cheat codes to get people to act and to do things different. What can leaders do to develop Agile? Evaluate the relevance of Agile in your business. Start where it's needed most. Access agility readiness. Now the other thing is too, is in the back, as you go out, we have an assessment for you to take with you. And then that assessment is going to be able to look at the agility readiness within your organization based upon the different questions that is aligned towards the box, the 3 tools. Observe, ask, examine, listen. Enhance your building blocks competencies. Start with leaders, but get everyone involved. So the big thing is that if your leadership and the leaders within the organizations are not aligned and they're not developing the critical skills that's needed to be able to get the rest of the staff, it's going to be very hard. The building blocks of agility, after that, that's what you have to be able to create an agile, effective collaboration, change management, the capacity to act, to then start creating more of that agile customer experience. So, in closing, keep your mind open to change all the time. Welcome it, court it. It is only by examining and re-examining your options and ideas that you can progress Dale Carnegie. Thank you again for today. I'm open for, I've got 5 minutes for questions. Who has the first question?
So I know at our table we were talking about AI and Brian was sharing some things, but I'm just wondering, when you hear of AI, I know Maria Bortolomo had a special that I watched, but sometimes I'm not quite, I don't know if it's that I'm a visual person, I don't quite get it, like how it's gonna affect me.
Sure.
And I'm just wondering if maybe you could talk a little bit about what are some, obviously we know the CDL drivers, but what are some of the impacts for
Other industries that are currently being impacted?
Just to get a better idea.
So the question has to deal with other industries that are going to be impacted based upon the adoption of AI and what's currently happening. So the first thing is the chat box. That's through artificial intelligence, which is customer service jobs. The other one is lawyers. It's an industry that's being impacted. They have software and analytics right now based upon that software system that could be able to, a lawyer is able to put their information in to the court, the judge, and then they're able to get predictions of based upon how that case is going to do and language you can actually use to that judge. And so what that's been doing is that's been reducing the amount of the junior attorneys that are needed. And so what they've been seeing within law firms is that now more and more there's ability to be able to communicate. The other one that's really interesting, so 60 Minutes did an episode about 2 years ago, and yes, I am one of the folks that still watch 60 Minutes. And it was the Duke Oncology Department, and you're going to say, what the heck, the Oncology Department of Duke, how is that going to impact jobs, right? So what would happen is they actually worked with IBM, and IBM utilized their supercomputer Watson. And so what they did was they put together all the cases of what's happening with these cancer patients, and Watson was able to have over a 90th percentile accuracy of the type of cancer, and then also the treatment. Now, how is that? Well, there's over 7,000 medical journals that is written a day around cancer. Please name the human that can read that many articles and that much research. Watson does it in less than a second. So it's again, that's where we're seeing disruption. You're even going to see it within the surgery center. And we've got another one too. Another within our where we dive in even deeper with AI, where we put a picture that was sold at a major art gallery. And that picture that sold, they said, okay, we're going to have AI develop this picture. And so they thought they'd get between $5,000 to $7,000. Guess how much that portrait, that painting, went for at auction? Take a guess. How much? 25,000. Anybody else? 20 million. It was actually over $250,000. That painting that AI developed. So again, it's going to, and we have a whole timeline of different jobs that it's going to be disrupted. So thank you so much. We have time for one last question. All right. So what we have in the back table, if you'd like to, we've got the survey. So let's get the survey out. We got the survey out. You can please fill out the survey in your tables. And then do we have the organizational assessments? So in our back table, we have organizational assessments for you to be able to take. So thank you very much. If you can just take our survey, put it back there. We want to be able to continue to hear from you. Thank you so much. Thank you.